Well, today's episode is going to be a very interesting one for everyone. So, today we're going to be reviewing what took place in Game Changer Wrestling War Ready, which was the last show they did in Japan before coming back for their Fight Club two-night event in Atlantic City at the Showboat. We also got, of course, where I'm going to do WWE's Extreme Rules, which I don't normally review any of the Raw or SmackDown, but I said, you know what, I'm just going to do the pay per view. So, what the hell? And then, of course, we got GLEAT version extra, where we have most of matches having involved UWF rules match and all this other stuff. And then finally, Jersey Championship Wrestling, or JCW, which is JCW versus the World. I'm kind of excited for that one. And of course, some news updates on what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
To Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, let's begin with GCW's War Ready, which was the last show in Japan that they did. As you know, they've been for almost a week or something. They've been in Japan doing 3 shows at the Shinkiba First Ring. This one is called War Ready, which most matches you see normal ones, you see death matches, but let's see what took place. Our very first match is, of course, the young pillars of GCW, Nick Wayne and Jordan Oliver, taking on Jimmy Lloyd and Drew Parker. I thought this match was very interesting because, Jimmy Lloyd, as you know, he is one of the most toughest SOBs. Drew Parker, well recognized in the deathmatch world in both Japan and in the UK and also in the US. I did not anticipate he was going to team up with Jimmy Lloyd, but one thing that I did like about this match is how cohesive both Jordan and Nick Wayne can be. They actually pulled off a double cloud cutter onto Jimmy Lloyd and allowed them to win. I thought it was a real fun moment, and I thought, wow, that was pretty cool. But I think it was Nick Wayne who actually pinned Jimmy, and they won the match in that fashion. So, pretty awesome. Next up, we got Kikutaro facing off Effie. Now, you probably can guess. You may think of this about Kikutaro. Have you guys ever seen Kikutaro? He's a bit of a pervert when it comes to him having intergender matches with women. However, he has to deal with a guy who is a bit unorthodox, a bit gayish. Yeah, Effie. So, makes you wonder, how would that affect him? Well, I know it's not going to stop him, but he's probably have to complain to the ref about it. That's what I like about Kikutaro. He sometimes complains whenever there's girls who are any of the Yoshi wrestlers who stand against him. They do some dumb moves. Like, for example, I saw him with Madeline from Diana run around him just getting on top, but she got help from the referee, and he asked her, "Did you help her?" He's like, "Nope." So I thought that was a good moment, but this is different from that. So, but one thing that was strange, Kikutaro lost control of himself when Effie planted on him. So if you guys know what I meant, he put his lips on his lips and lost control, and he got pinned for it. So basically, Kikutaro's like, "What the hell?" So thought it was funny. Next match, we have Takushi Sasaki and Yuko Miyamoto taking on Toru Sugiura and Slonk. Now, this match was one of those toughest SOB type of matches. But however, one thing that was funny is Sugiura misfired when he had Miyamoto right where he wanted him with the chair. He accidentally whacked Schlonk, and Schlonk was pissed off like an angry beast. And he kind of picked him up on his neck and then power slammed him down like a power bomb. And of course, giving Sasaki the opportunity to pick up the win. So basically, I'm sure Sugiura is gonna say, I'm sorry, I messed up." But Schlonk doesn't like to be like that at all, so I can see that in him. Next match, we have the most craziest death match I ever seen. We have Toshiyuki Sakuda taking on Joey Janela. One thing that was crazy is how Sakuda put this very sharp object right in this. Crazy. Right through his cheeks and out the other. It's so crazy. And as soon as that happened, it was gone on for a little bit until Joey had to pull it out. I'm like, so crazy. But he was able to, but Joey, as you know, he is the bad boy after all. He always finds a way to win, but he was able to put Sakuda down when he stomped him right on where he had glass shards and in the chair right on his abdomen and put him down for good, but with the pinfall 1, 2, 3. But that part, now our next match is the GCW Ultraviolent title. We have Cole Radrick taking on Rina Yamashita. I thought this match was very interesting because, as you know, Cole Radrick is the current GCW Extreme Champion. They're almost similar in the like, but this one was more ultraviolet than you probably wouldn't imagine. But it was Rina Yamashita with a somewhat of a razor edge onto Cole Radrick that he put him right on top of some chairs with whatever shards are there available for him to pick up the win. I thought it was a good match. You know, Cole Radrick facing off Rina Yamashita, because I know Rina doesn't back down from anything. Now, our main event, we have the GCW Tag Team titles. Masashi Takeda and Ju Kasai taking on the Mega Bastards, Alex Colon and John Wayne Murdoch. Another good match, crazy enough, with a lot of, as they say, a lot of fuckery, as they call it. A lot of crazy stuff took place. But it was, of course, Alex Colon with the camel clutch or crossface, whatever it was they used, onto Takeda in order for him and John Wayne to retain the titles. I thought it was a pretty good event. I liked it, but the one thing that that still gets off my mind is that object right into Joey's cheeks. I'm like, that still gets me like, But anyway, good show. I have to say, I like what they did in Japan. Hopefully, I get to see GCW versus Freedoms, but that's going to be another conversation at another time. So, right now, let's move on with, I believe, is WWE's Extreme Rules. WWE's Extreme Rules match. Now, I know I mentioned a lot in the past where I normally don't review a lot of WWE stuff that includes pay-per-views, but I decided, what the hell, let's just watch this one in the first place. So it opened up with what's it called? A good old-fashioned Donnybrook six-man tag team match. And I don't know what the hell that's what, but it was more like, how to say, a brawls fight in a bar or some sort of thing, or a winery, whatever they were trying to do. But the reason behind this is because, as you know, what happened on SmackDown, Gunther kind of, I don't know if you say that he BS himself for his words about not using weapons, because we did see there was a shillelagh involved and that sort of thing. So let's just see how that played out. So it became the Brawling Brutes versus Imperium. So basically, we have seen Imperium in the past how dominant they can be as a faction. We've seen how dominant they were in the NXT UK and NXT, and of course, we cannot forget, of course, in the main roster. But this time they're in the big brawl. You probably wouldn't imagine how this match would go. I mean, one thing, it led to another. Shillelaghs were involved. I was surprised how Sheamus was able to put Gunther through a table when he put him like in some sort of like a razor's edge. But one thing that led to the victory for the Brawling Brutes is the bro kick by Sheamus to Vinci, giving them the victory. So Sheamus may not have won the Intercontinental title like we all would have wanted, but it did give him a sense of victory, knowing that this is like one for the Brawling Brutes. Now, our next match, this is for the SmackDown Women's Championship between both in an Extreme Rules match. We have Ronda Rousey versus Liv Morgan. Now, this is, if you guys remember clearly, during Money in the Bank, Liv Morgan won the Money in the Bank, and she cashed in right away by pinning Ronda Rousey. Now, as you know, some people say that Liv Morgan would have been the one to lose the title sooner, but this is more like a little revenge type match where, of course, Ronda Rousey doesn't think that she earned a lot of respect because of that, but Liv Morgan has proven time and time again why she should be respected. But it only took one armbar for that to change. Of course, for Ronda Rousey to regain the SmackDown Women's title, and of course this devastated Liv Morgan. There was a exclusive content where they tried to find her, but she looked more like she was in a dark place. So there's a lot of speculations on that, but I'll explain that at the end of this segment of the review of Extreme Rules. Next up, we got a strap match: Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross. Now, since Karrion Kross made his appearance in WWE in the main roster, he viciously attacked Drew McIntyre time and time again while he was busy trying to capture the titles, even at Clash of the Castle, that sort of thing, but didn't work out. So he decided, you know what, you want me? Let's do this. Of course, I mean, Karrion Kross played a very cerebral game with Drew McIntyre since this was a strap match. He didn't put on the strap, so he tried to soften up Drew McIntyre as much as possible. But it did work for quite some time until, of course, Scarlett got intervened, and then, of course, got pepper sprayed by Scarlett, and then gave Karrion Kross the elbow cross right into the head of Drew McIntyre that allowed him to win. Now, our next match is the Raw Women's title match in a ladder match between Bayley and Bianca Belair. Now, since Bayley came back, she formed Damage Control. Bianca Belair has proven time and again why she is a fighting champion. Bayley is trying to, prove another point, but however, Damage Control were able to eliminate the allies of Bianca Belair. However, I was impressed how Bianca Belair stood her ground. It took a lot of effort for her not to be like that never say die, don't quit that type attitude that I liked about Bianca. Not to mention, even when Damage Control thought they had everything under their control, when they saw their leader was not doing so well, basically they tried to help, but it did not work. They got really, really double KOD out of there. But it was Bianca Belair that able to retain the SmackDown Women's title. So that the Raw Women's title, and I thought it was a great match because it showed what a fighting spirit Bianca Belair can be, and I think that's a good one. Now, our next match, which is the semi-main event, is the I Quit match between Edge and Finn Balor. This little rivalry between them started because ever since Edge was the leader of Judgment and kicked out, things have been gone sideways, not to mention recruiting Dominic and all that. Even though we saw Rhea Ripley handcuff Edge down there, the numbers game. Even Rey Mysterio showed up for a helping hand. And then, of course, Beth Phoenix shows up, giving a beatdown on Judgment Day until later on. What I did like is Dominic tried to play the smart game, tried to ease tensions between him and Edge, but he had it coming when he got kicked in the groin thanks to Edge. But however, they were able to take down Beth in order to make Edge to say I quit right in front of him. However, she got double concerto. Apparently they were not going to keep up with their promise and whacked her down. So now this is becoming more personal for them. So sooner or later Edge will get his revenge on Judgment Day, whether they believe they won this war or not. Now our main event is the fight pit match with special guest referee of MMA fighter, former MMA fighter for both heavyweight and junior heavyweight, Daniel Cormier. I thought it was a pretty interesting match between Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins. Now, keep in mind the fight pit is a different type of scenario. The only way to win is by knockout or submission, and I thought this was similar to what we saw back in SmackDown with the fight with the pit, with Thatcher and Riddle, Thatcher with Ciampa, that sort of thing. And I think that felt a little more different, but it was, of course, Seth Rollins who had most of it under control until Matt Riddle was the one who put him away by applying the Triangle Lancer submission, which is like putting your legs across the back of the head to the arm to extend it, that forced um, Seth Rollins in order to pass out. It was over. So basically, Matt Riddle won this one, a little retribution for what Seth Rollins did to him. But however, that does not end right there. We did saw the lights go out. We don't know what was going on. We see these characteristic figures everywhere. A pig, the Fiend. We saw these people showing up. And it was no secret because the entire time we've been hearing this. He got the whole world. We all knew where that came from. We all know where it was coming from. And of course, we kind of expected it because it made no sense why he was released to begin with. Bray Wyatt is back. It kind of would make sense. Now, I'm going to explain something that makes sense. I talked about how after the match with Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey, Liv Morgan looks like she's in a dark place. With Bray Wyatt back, there is speculations. They're saying that maybe Bray might take her into under his wing. Reason behind that, in real life, you guys know this or not, Liv Morgan is in a relationship with Bo Dallas, Bray Wyatt's real life brother. So it would make sense, treat this more like a family thing. But we'll see how that goes down. So we don't know much, but there'll be something related to that on the news update that I will be putting out later. So I think that's pretty much it with Extreme Rules. I believe it's time for GLEAT. GLEAT are back with their latest event called Version Extra, with just the EX capitalized. This recently took place. It opened up with three matches involving UWF rules match. The first one is Minoru Tanaka versus Tokaro Natsu. Now I don't know much about Kotaro Natsu, but it was a pretty good match. It's exactly what I thought with the UWF rules match. But it was, of course, Minoru Tanaka who pulled off an armbar into this that allowed him to win the match. So I thought it was an interesting one, but it was good. But however, that wasn't the only UWF matches took place. The next two ones are mostly tag teams. Now, some of you are saying, "Is this how does tag team works?" Well, it's the same thing with the UWF. But if you want out, all you got to do is tag in. Now, our first match, we have, of course, Yu Iizuka and Takanori Ito versus Hikari Sato and Hidoki Sekini. I think that's his name. I pronounce it. But anyway, this match was exactly what I did not expect it, because normally when I see UWF matches, I would expect a winner. But I would have assumed, because I seen Takanori Ito win many of his UWF matches, I always thought it was great. But I like how, of course, Iizuka was able to hold out his own right until the end against Sekine. I thought it was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But the match ended in a time limit draw. It went up to 20 minutes. So, like I said, I would have assumed that Takanori Ito was going to win, would be the one to finish the matchup. The last few times he won by knockout, but not this time. So it was very fun. Now we got the Yoshi wrestlers taking up the position of being in the UWF tag match. First team, we got Michiko Miyagi teaming up with Maya Fukuda versus Tomoka Inaba, you may know her as the newest member of God's Eye, the current JTO Queen's Champion, teaming up with Sendai's Mika Iwata. I thought this match was pretty good. However, I would have assumed this one was more. I can see Miyagi and Fukuda are getting along great because if you guys know this, Fukuda she's an expert in karate and that sort of thing. But it was Iwata who pulled off a knockout onto Fukuda. Fukuda was so frustrated she couldn't believe that happened. Like she probably would have expected. Like I had the much better experience, but however, I think Iwata had the much better train. I seen um, her Twitter page with videos of her training constantly. I thought that was kind of what makes sense. Now we just saw a little something right after this match, a little clip. Apparently, I don't know what you guys would think of this. We have seen recently on several occasions on AEW, Luigi Primo, yeah, the pizza guy, he's coming to GLEAT. I'm like, what? Why would they want that guy? I don't know. I did not expect that one, but wow. But yeah, so he's heading to GLEAT. I don't know what it was all about, but damn. So anyway, back to the matches. Our next match, we have Soma Watanabe teaming up with Kaz Hayashi to take on Viva Mexico, Commander from the promotion Chaos. And of course, this guy, you guys know him from everywhere, from all over the world. Ring of Honor, he recently was on AEW. He's been with CML, everywhere. I'm talking about everybody's favorite bandit, Bandito. Yes, folks, Bandito teams of what with Commander. I thought it was a good match because there was a lot of hot flying, a lot of hot spots in this particular match, but it was Commander with a springboard 450 that he applied onto Soma Watanabe that allowed him to win. As you know, Commander had made his recent appearance in GLEAT, but I say maybe many people are enjoying him being there now, so we could see him there. Some of you may say, why would Bandito go to GLEAT? Then he made his appearance with New Japan. Yeah, but I don't know what's the deal because certain wrestlers, either they're working with AAA or others that don't want them there, like CML, who has authority to have wrestlers to go there. I don't know what's the scenario on that. So anyway, our next match, we have Shima and Jean Tonsho from 60 Seconds teaming up with Chick Shamitana of Bulk Orchestra and All Japan Pro Wrestling's very own Jake Lee. This was also another good combination because, as you know, both Kamitani and Lee are heels, and I think it fits in. But however, the only difference is Shamitani is short, Lee is taller. But it was, of course, with a brainbuster by Lee Tonsho that allowed him to win the match. I thought it was a pretty good one too. Now, this is the match I was looking forward to. It's Tetsuya Izushi versus Kaito Ishida. Now, Ishida has been constantly in the last few GLEAT events, has been constantly attacking Izushi. I don't know what's his problem towards him. There was no direct translation. There is no translator or English commentary like we see in New Japan or in certain promotions. But I don't know. I don't know if he sees Izushi as like he's incompetent, that he's rising too fast, or what, or he's trying to teach him a lesson. Who knows? But it was, of course, a pretty good match. I have to say, Izushi had the upper hand. Much of the control was up to him, but somehow Ishida was able to overturn this and put the Tiger Suplex onto Izushi to win the match. Now, I don't know if this feud between Izushi and Ishida is over, but we'll just have to wait and see in the upcoming events after that. Now, our next match, we have Strong Arts consistent of El Lindaman, Izushi Inoka, Onizuka, and T-Hawk taking on Shigehiro Iri, Kazuma Sakamoto, and of course New Japan's very own. And as Kevin Kelly would say, "Hey, look, it's Humna." Yep, Tomoaki Humna's there too. I thought it was a very fun match. There was some a bit mishaps, misfires on the opposing team, but it was of course T-Hawk who made the pin onto Shigehiro on his own teammate who was in the opposite team. So I thought it was very interesting, but it was fun. I like it. Now, our next match, this is a no disqualification match. We have Bulk Orchestra's very own Hayato Tamura, one half of the G Infinity Champions, uh, teaming with the leader Rushi Kawakami, taking on Masashi Takeda and Jun Kasai. I thought this match was crazy. I don't think the Bulk Orchestra knew what they were getting themselves into, because when you hear no disqualification, yes, you probably will get away using tools, but except you're not playing the traditional like rules breaking using all the toys. They brought skewers. Yes, I saw that. They did that on both of them, but it was Jun Kasai with a leaping splash right on top of to Kawakami that no, to pick up the win. I don't think Bulk Orchestra knew what they got themselves into, but I thought it was fun. I'm sure Jun Kasai enjoyed it, so that was pretty fun. So I think this match was great. I have to say the extra. I don't know. We're gonna see another extra coming up, but we just gotta wait and see. I enjoyed the GLEAT show. I loved it. It was very interesting seeing Bandito come here, and pretty much it. So let's just see what happens in the next one coming up. So right now, let's move on to our final review, and I believe we are doing GCW versus the World. Okay, our last review. This is from Jersey Championship Wrestling, or as we call it, JCW. This one is JCW versus the World. This took place on night 2 of the Fight Club by GCW, but I will review those in due time. However, let's start with the opening match. We have Too Hot Steve Scott taking on Shota. Now, those who are not familiarized with Shota, he's well known in Japan. He's been mostly with Gambari Pro. He's also a good friend of Thunder Rosa. If you guys know this or not, Shota was her contact guy whenever Thunder Rosa goes back to Japan. So if you guys knew that or not, Shota is in fact knows how to speak English. But Shota is wrestling in the States for a couple of months. It's great to see him in the JCW ring. So he faced off a much different guy, and I thought it was really interesting. However, it was, of course, the drop the mic by Scott that allowed him to win, and I think it was a really good way to make an impression. Nothing compared like we've seen with Jungle Kiona, but it was a good one. But yeah. Now, our next match we have, as always, a scramble match. We have B-Boy. Yes, my boy. B-Boy is there. We got Big Vin versus Bam Sullivan versus Dustin Wallet versus Axton Ray versus the Kick Demon, Janai Kai. Now, these scramble matches, I keep saying time and time again, anything could happen. Now, did I have any particular wrestler in mind that could win? I don't know. That was the very tough one. I mean, you got B-Boy, you got Big Van, Aston Ray, and Janai Kai. Either one of them, in my opinion, would have won it. But it was Sullivan that picked up the win onto Waller. When he applied, I don't know if it's a Falcon Arrow. I can't say if that's really is. If it is, someone please tell me. But it was pretty good. Sullivan won by doing that onto Dustin Waller. Now, our next match we have Skade versus Tony Deppen, the biggest a-hole on the planet. I thought it was a fun, solid match. I mean, not too much hyped as I would have wanted, but no. But it was that but it was, of course, the running knee by Deppen onto Skyd. I think that's what Skyd. I can't pronounce the name at all, but it was a good one. I like it. It was a good ending. Next up, we got Sumi Sakai teaming up with Shaza McKenzie, which was unusual, but I think it was curious. They take on Young, Dumb and Broke's Charlie Tiger and Ellis Taylor. You probably would have said the advantage goes with Young, Dumb and Broke due to the fact that they are more cohesive than Sakai and McKenzie, and I think it's true. I think because you probably would have assumed, okay, Sumi Sakai and Jungle Kiona would have been on the same tag team, but no, it did not. So we'll see about that. But it was, of course, a face plant onto McKenzie by Taylor that allowed them to Young, Dumb, and Broke to win. Next up, we got Alex Price versus Jonathan Gresham. Now, we all could say Jonathan Gresham is one of the best pure wrestlers ever, but that's yet to be seen. Ever since we saw the last time we saw him with uh, back when Ring of Honor, AEW, that sort of thing, he takes on Alex Price. But one thing we saw is that when the referee did not see, um, Gresham gave Price a low blow, then inside crow that allowed him to win. So basically, we don't know what is the deal with him, but it looks like he is not playing by the same rules anymore. So we'll see how that goes on in the foreseeable future. Now, our next match, we have Jungle Kiona versus Sawyer Wreck. This was already announced prior when Jungle Kiona was made her debut in Uncensored last month. I thought it was a good one, but however, she's facing someone a bit more bigger in her size. But it was Sawyer Wreck that put her through a chair with the chokeslam, allowing her to win. So basically, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of Joan Kiona with JCW in the formidable future. Now, our next match is a grudge match of sorts. Yo-Yo versus the root of all evil himself, Charles Mason. You all know Charles Mason. He's a freaking maniac. He doesn't care what he's gonna do. He feels like he's gonna kill somebody. But he had his issues with Yo-Yo for quite some time. One, because he won the glass hat and all this other things. But of course, Charles Mason used that glass hat under his favor to win the match. But when we thought it was over, he decided he's gonna choke Yo-Yo. But however, Dixon, a guy that he attacked as well, decided to get a little payback against Charles Mason, and Mason ran like a coward that he is. So basically, we will see those two come across each other in the formidable future. Now, this next match, we have Hoodfoot versus Alex Colon. Now, for the record here, Hoodfoot was supposed to face, what's his name? Slade, but however, due to certain circumstances outside of JCW, Slade was arrested due to carrying a weapon out in public. We don't know what the deal is, but hopefully things can be resolved, because from what I understanding, it doesn't seem good right now for Slade. But having Alex Colon was a perfect suitable replacement. I think it was a good one, but I kind of did not anticipate a whole lot of this one, because we were advertised with Slade, but Alex Colon was the one who picked up the win with the camel clutch crossface and allowed him to win the match. So yeah, so you can say it probably was like unexpected, but I think Colon was the perfect suitable replacement. So the show was good, but I think the match I was mostly looking for was Jungle Kiona, because I just jumped in on the Jungle Kiona bandwagon recently. But yeah, so we'll see what happens in the next JCW. But let's move on to our final thing, which is news updates. Okay, here are news updates for everyone. The first one is Tanga Loa. As you guys haven't been seeing him recently on New Japan, the reason is he will be missing the rest of New Japan events for the rest of 2022 due to an injury he obtained on his MCL. So I don't know how much damage. The last time I saw him, he made an appearance at the Music Rocks Country something. That one match that John Moxley did with Desperado. That was, I don't know what that one's called, but yeah, he was in that particular event. Now, this next update, this was coming from PW Insider. It relates to Honor No More. It appears that after this weekend, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, Maria, and Vincent will be completed their Impact tapings after the weekend. So basically, this weekend will be their last. Because if you guys know this or not, Impact Wrestling do a lot of their tapings ahead of time, and we will no longer see Honor No More. I'm going to assume that Eddie Edwards I don't know what stories they're going to do. I don't know about Kenny King, if he's going to stay. I know PCO will stay because I think they signed him, my understanding. So practically, yeah, that's what's going on. So Bennett, Taven, Maria, and Vincent are going to be gone. I wouldn't be surprised what they would be going, but I'm sure that I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up in NWA because we do know they will be. I know that Taven and Bennett are want to get those titles, but we'll see. Now, let's talk about Wrestling Revolver, which is, of course, Sami Callihan's promotion. First time ever for the final pay per view of the year, season finale. We're going to have, for the first time ever, Ray Phoenix versus Zachary Wentz. That's going to be one hell of a match. I'm down with that match. I'm definitely. So, this event's going to take place on December 3rd. So, that's going to be good. Now, for our final update, I mentioned this guy already on Extreme Rules. Bray Wyatt is back. Now, there's reports coming in that Bray Wyatt is set to return to WWE. As you know, he's amongst those that were released by Vince. I think it's a good choice for him to come back. Now, I'm not sure if he will be involved with his brother, Bray Wyatt, but hopefully, if he does, that's going to be a much interesting development. And also, maybe if things are planning for Liv Morgan to join that, I wouldn't be surprised either. So we'll see what happens down the line. But I believe let's just end it right here and just call it a day. All right. Hope everybody enjoys this episode. If you guys are happy that I did Extreme Rules, uh, I just did it for the hell of it. Not gonna be holding back on that. However, for our next episode, we will have Choco Pro 260. Don't know what matches are taking place. We do have Wrestle Princess 3 by Tokyo Pro, which I'm curious, and of course the latest New Japan Pro Wrestling's Declaration of Power and AEW Dark Elevation. So those are the 4 ones that I have, and I think we should be having some news updates around that time. Also, I'll be doing a separate video involving, of course, Unagi Sayaka. Basically, I'm going to talk about that a whole lot because there's been a lot of talking about her recently. I have to say this again. Once again, the dirt sheets are saying it. Due to the fact that it's already been confirmed from sources in Twitter that I've been following and talking to. So we'll see what happens then. But for now, I'll do that as soon as possible. But right now, I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.